What made you want to take this job?
You know, you've got incredibly talented players right here in Caitlin and Aaliyah and Lexi, a team that was incredibly fun to watch, very tough to game plan against. So I'm glad I'm going to get to work with you guys, work with you ladies, instead of having to think about how to stop you. The future is so bright, and our ultimate goal is to hang another banner in the field house. And our ultimate goal is to come back in here after we win that championship and celebrate again like we did in 2012. So,
what's up, Clark Nation? This is part 2 of the series, Who is Stephanie White? This is a question we're going to have to ask and answer, because if we look at the climate of the team today and the decisions that were made then and the decisions that are being made now, did we miss something? Did we put too much trust in the front office decision making in the beginning? Because that's where this all started, in the beginning. Now, I didn't know Stephanie White. I wasn't following the WNBA as closely as others may have been. I started following when Caitlin Clark was drafted by the Indiana Fever, because I wanted to see the young lady's career progress through from college through her pro career. Just like if you develop not a full-blown relationship, but a relationship with a player you admire, you probably watch during the tournament. Obviously, being in Texas, we didn't watch Iowa on a regular basis, but we did see the high-profile games, aka March Madness. We knew she was a high-profile figure. We knew the team was a high-profile team, and through the success of this young lady's career, it brought her back to the Final Four in consecutive years. Beat some great programs. Beat some well-coached, great programs, a.k.a. South Carolina, a.k.a. LSU. And so now, here we are in the beginning, when Stephanie was at her press conference saying all of these things. I took her at her word. When people start to say things like this, I don't assume anything. I didn't have any predetermining notions about whether what Stephanie was saying was true or not. But now that we have some history in between day one and where we are right now, we can look back at this moment and ask ourselves, what was her intentions for coming back to Indiana, for coming back to coach the Fever? Remember, I think this presser is around November of 2024. So this was right after the probably the championship, somewhere, because I think the championship ends around October. So this is November. The front office is making moves. Christy Sides has been possibly terminated. I don't want to say she was fired, but she was definitely let go. And they're bringing in all of these new people. When you change at the top, you have what we call a reorganization. And that's going to mean that they're going to bring in their people. So you had Kelly first, then Amber, and then Kelly brought in for her coach, because this is all Kelly's decision making. Now, I want y'all to keep in mind, in the background, lurking in the shadows, is Lin Dunn. Lin Dunn is the mechanism behind all of the decision making that you see. Though she gets no credit, she is behind all of the decision making that you see. This is the mentor, and she said it herself. I'll have to find that video. When I do, I'll post it. She said herself that Lin Dunn is her mentor, and this is head coach Stephanie White. Mentor is a pretty strong word. It's a pretty definite word. That means that a lot of her coaching style is going to mirror Lin Dunn. So Stephanie White is Lin Dunn 2.0.
What made you want to take this job? What made you want to take this job?
First of all, she's basketball royalty in the state of Indiana. Let's just start there. Well, first and foremost, it's home. I mean, this is a franchise and the Indiana Fever, Indiana Pacers that's in my DNA. Grew up in Indiana, played with the franchise, of course, a part of the franchise when we won the WNBA championship. And secondly, this young, exciting roster. You think about a generational player in Caitlin Clark and back-to-back Rookie of the Years with Aaliyah Boston. Kelsey Mitchell, I think, had the best year of her career. It's just an exciting roster. What an outstanding moment we have in women's basketball right now. And to come back and be a part of it in my home state with my home franchise, it's just a unique opportunity. And I'm so thankful and grateful for it.
These are all good reasons why the organization brought her back to Indiana. She grew up in Indiana. She played her college basketball in Indiana. She played her pro career in Indiana and coached in Indiana for the Indiana Fever. That's a lot of history in Indiana. But is she the right coach for Caitlin Clark? Is she the right coach for the Indiana Fever? All these accolades and accomplishments are great for the organization, but for the team, was Stephanie White the right decision moving forward? Now, I know the Stephanie White apologists are going to say otherwise. Think about it. Let's think in hindsight now. What has Stephanie White done post-college career playing basketball? We know she won the national championship for Carolyn Peck. Carolyn Peck was the first, correct me if I'm wrong, woman of color college women's basketball coach to win a national title. So you can understand why that relationship is so endearing to Carolyn Peck regarding Stephanie White. Stephanie White and that team gave Carolyn Peck a distinction that only one person can achieve. There's not even if let's say Don Staley, or may have been the second. It could have been others, but let's just say Don Staley may have been the second coach in D1 women's basketball to win a national title. Carolyn Peck was the first. There's only a first distinction. After that, everyone is falling under Carolyn Peck. So you see when Carolyn Peck goes on national TV and makes a comment to the tune of, well, the team is more dangerous or hard to guard without Caitlin Clark. She's saying that for a friend. That's not a comment coming from a wealth of basketball knowledge. That's where some people can't draw the line between their friendship, the love that they have for a player versus basketball knowledge. Now, a lot of y'all gonna disagree with that, but I'm telling you all straight up what that comment was about. That was a coach looking out for a former player who allowed her to become the first in a category in terms of college basketball, women's college basketball championships. So let's be clear about that relationship with Carolyn Peck and Stephanie White.
You know, Stephanie, you mentioned also in your statement that it is an important time in women's basketball. How do you prepare to coach a star like Caitlin Clark, who commands attention both on the floor and by fans in a way that, frankly, we've never seen before in the W? How do you prepare to coach a star like Caitlin Clark, who commands attention both on the floor and by fans in a way that, frankly, we've never seen before in the W?
You know, I think the greatest thing is just for me, having been a part of the WNBA for 25 years, having worked on both sides of it in the media and in the coaching realm, and being a player in this league as well. I mean, this is the moment that we've been waiting for. So I don't know if you prepare for it as much as you just embrace it, embrace where we are. Think about the momentum moving forward, where we wanted this league to be and where we still aspire for it to go, and just embrace this moment, embrace this opportunity, continue to help this team, this franchise be better, position ourselves for success, and just embrace this moment, embrace this opportunity, continue to help this team, this franchise be better, position ourselves for success.
When we first heard this answer, we took it at face value. We didn't know, I didn't know Stephanie White then. I didn't know what she was about. I'm learning that now. I'm learning that now, and you're learning that now. Stephanie White apologists are going to make an excuse for her behavior since making this comment. She said, I don't know if it's much about preparing versus embracing the moment. Does it seem like Stephanie has embraced the moment of Caitlin Clark, coaching Caitlin Clark? The question was, how do you prepare to coach a player like Caitlin Clark? She says her preparation is not as important as her desire to just embrace the moment. When you go back and look at the tape of that tirade on the sideline, is that embracing the moment? Was Stephanie embracing the moment then? You see, and everyone will say, well, that was then. This is exactly. You shouldn't make comments like this that people can bring up and say, hey, you kind of shifted your narrative versus when you were coming on board and the person you are now. Maybe the person that we saw in this interview when she first came on board was not the real Stephanie White. And that's why in this series, we're going to dig deep down and find out who is Stephanie White. Because it all comes back to, why did you leave Connecticut? Okay, it wasn't working out. You could have went into the booth and been an analyst, okay? But you chose to come to Indiana so you could coach Caitlin Clark. It's not working out, Stephanie. All that you said in that first presser, it doesn't seem to be panning out right now. Were you the right coach for Caitlin Clark? Did you come back to coach the Fever for selfish reasons? Because your coaching ability has not been a benefit to this team, to this organization, and to mainly your superstar player. She's been more injured under your leadership than any point in her career. Why is that, Stephanie? Your strength and conditioning program is straight out whack. I've never seen so many players injured like that playoff run y'all made. Everybody went down. You had players going down like it was crazy. It was straight crazy. Strength and conditioning. You don't have a strength and conditioning program with all of these injuries. They said Justine Passat couldn't play because she had a lower leg injury. We're not going to get into the semantics of that, but injury seems to follow you wherever you go, Stephanie. The leaked video from the former Vanderbilt player done by DePoe. She said the team was often injured and the players were not getting the proper treatment they needed. These injuries seem to follow you wherever you go, Stephanie. Why are your teams seem to be so injured? What is going on with all of these injuries, Stephanie? These are questions that people should be asking, but they're not asking. Chloe Peterson, God bless you in your career. But the people around the Indiana Fever, reporters, journalists, are not asking the tough questions. They're not. Stephanie White has not been pressed on anything. And anyone that dares presses Stephanie White on tough questions is going to end up like Scott Agnes. And that's a tragedy because that's what journalism is about. Dan Patrick tried to get Kathy Engelberg to come on his show and talk about the issue. Hey, he wanted to talk to her when the AT incident happened. Now Congress wants to get involved. Hey, Kathy, at some point, you got to come out and talk about this. Stephanie White has been insulated in Indiana. They insulate her. Lin Dunn has a lot to do with that. They're protecting this lady. Stephanie White is, 48, 49 years old? Why are y'all still protecting her like she's in preschool or something? Let people ask her the tough questions. The first tough question I seen Stephanie White being asked was when that guy pressed her on what do you think about the Congress saying this about your player, and is it racially motivated? She tried to go with the company line talking about she made a comment. If you want that answer, go back and look at that comment. He didn't let up. See, Chloe Peterson and all these other people, they would have let up and went on to the next question. The guy said, no. I understand that. I want to hear from you. What do you think about this? And she gave that canned answer about we're going to make the main thing. Talking like Coach Prime. That's the first person I ever talking about the main thing. We're not a part of that community. Has nobody asked you about that? You know what's going on. You had a player that poked the girl in the eye. You had a player do Caitlin dirty. And she did that intentionally, and you know that. But where was your intensity to come to the mic and say, hey, that was a dirty play by my player. I'm going to talk to her about that because that's not the W. And all you people sitting around talking about all this is just physical play, you all are being obtuse. It's ridiculous that you all can't come to the conclusion that she's being treated differently. And again, go back to my litmus test. If this were happening the other way around, you know what these women would be yelling? The R word. And they know that. It doesn't even take much for them to yell that. You had Sheila Johnson said that when the one player is getting all of the attention, there's going to be accusations of the R word. That's what Sheila Johnson said in that CNN interview that I keep trying to play for you all and try to explain why we're seeing what we're seeing right now. Sheila Johnson, that interview with Sheila Johnson is just a microcosm of everything that has happened since 2024, since this young lady's coming to the league. We're going to keep digging, we're going to keep probing, and we're going to keep finding out the truth. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. You all have a blessed day. I'm out.
First of all, she's basketball royalty in the state of Indiana. Let's just start there.
So I want to make sure that we're sort of clear on the nuance of the voting here, right? That's an important part of this. They didn't say that she was the 11th best guard in the WNBA. That's not what happened. As you mentioned, a lot of people didn't get ballots, a lot of people didn't vote, but what they did, they voted for the top 4 guards in the league. That was what the All-Star ballot was. So people were voting for top 4. I don't think that you can make a compelling argument that Caitlin Clark is a top 4 guard in the WNBA. Like, nobody can at this point. I don't think that you can make a compelling argument that Caitlin Clark is a top 4 guard in the WNBA. Like, nobody can at this point. That is why she was 11. She got the 11th most votes for being in the top 4. So there's really no controversy about that, because especially when you add in the fact that she is one of the most popular players in the WNBA. She's going to make the All-Star team. That is not the argument here. I think what bothers me is when this is framed as some sort of like petty jealousy or insecurity by these women in the WNBA. I think what bothers me is when this is framed as some sort of like petty jealousy or insecurity by these women in the WNBA.
You women out there, y'all petty, man. You women out there, y'all petty, man.